Today I'm going to study Raylib. Try to build something simple. Just gonna wait to see if it's streaming. So I found this video here from this guy, and I'm going to start by trying to implement the code here because it's kind of similar with what I want to do. I'm gonna have to spend a bunch of time studying a bunch of things probably because I have no idea how to. I just got to the point where I understand much better now how to build the project, but when it comes to actually building things, it's gonna take a lot of time, and I'm probably gonna make a bunch of mistakes. So yeah, I'm gonna explain the stuff that I figured out about why it wasn't working with SDL. I was trying to build a project with SDL and CMake, and it wasn't working, and I figured out why. So I'm just gonna show the video, and then I'll show that. That's basically the project that he did, and this is the GitHub repo from here. You can find the description. Yeah, so I'm gonna close this stuff. So the reason why it wasn't working, so the way that I was trying to do it, I had some stuff here that is not related, but I'm using add subdirectory from CMake to include these libraries, and I was trying to create a template of a project to don't have to think about that anymore, like something that I can reuse for any graphics project. And I was adding the library here, STL from here, and using this target link libraries, and then writing like this because that's how they recommend to do it on the documentation. But the reason why it wasn't working is because by default it creates a dynamic link library, and dynamic link libraries are different than normal libraries. So as far as I understand right now, the main point of doing dynamic link libraries is to be able to reuse the code. So you can have several different projects that use the same code, and then the library is just going to be an address in memory that is available for all these different applications. So for example, let's say you have a print statement, a print function. Then instead of creating that print library for every single project that is going to use a print function, you create only one library, which is a dynamic library, and then you provide the address of the library for multiple different programs. So that's the reason why it exists. But the problem is, like, based on the way that CMake works, it doesn't automatically put that dynamic linked library on the same folder that the executable is at. So the problem is that it compiles everything and it doesn't work because the program here can't find the symbols. And as far as I understand, symbols are just it's just what the compiler creates to create the linking process, which is going to be, you have the function declarations and then you have the function definitions. The declaration is just like a statement with the name of the function and what kind of arguments it receives and what type it returns. So based on that, the compiler is gonna create a symbol that is equivalent to that function, and then on the linking process is gonna try to attach that declaration with a definition. But if you're using a dynamic link library, then you have to put the library on the same folder as the executable, the final executable. But I still have a lot of questions about that, and I'm not really sure about it. So I think I'm gonna go with both because of that and because from what I've seen, Raylib seems to be like it seems to be a lighter library and is also very good. So I think that's just the best option to go with now. And I'm just gonna show here because the thing that I'm confused or like it's not very clear. Like one thing that I thought is that it might be because of the way that they created this library, the CMake code that they created, and not a thing from CMake itself. But it feels like it is not very good to me. But I think that this is like the trade-off you get like you gain more flexibility by using dynamic link libraries, but then it becomes more annoying to structure the paths. But I don't understand why CMake, uh, but obviously it's because I don't understand like how it works under the hood. But it feels like kind of weird that by the way that I imagine in my mind, if I was the one that created CMake, there would be some logic that says like if it is a dynamic link library, puts the library on the same path as the executable. So I imagine that there's probably some reason why they didn't do it like that. And I think that the reason why is because probably like there's too much variance on different projects. So you can't really create a standard because every project is going to be different. So I think that's the reason probably. So which makes me think that the problem is probably an issue with the way that they created the CMake on SDL. But then again, is one of those things that I think that's you can't really design it in a way because you don't know who's going to use the library and how they're going to use it. So it has to be something that is more from the user standpoint that you have to figure out. But even then, like, it still doesn't feel like I still couldn't think about a good way to go about this, like, because the main issue that I have is that if you're gonna create an executable and then you're gonna allow people to use it, then it doesn't make sense to go to figure out a way to put the dynamic link library on the path on Windows, a path is gonna find or something like that, because then like it just feels too fragile. Like it feels like if you change anything, then it might break the whole thing. So I assume that there is probably a standard way to do this, but I'm not really sure like how to go about it, because it doesn't feel right as well to have to put all the DLL files in the same folder of the project. So something that I have to think about more. But now it creates this based on the code I provide here, the window. So for that reason and for the other reasons, I think that's trying to do it with Raylib is probably the better option for now. And obviously I'm gonna research more, but I watched a bunch of videos as well about CMake, and it's kind of hard to find information, but I'm gonna read the documentation there from Windows and then maybe research more, study more about the dynamic libraries. As far as I understand now, both Windows and Linux, you have like they both have specific paths you can put the dynamic libraries, and then the code's gonna find them. But I don't understand the connection between the operational system and the way that the project is gonna create this process. And another thing that I saw that is kind of dangerous is that if you're using, because the code is gonna use a library that's on an address, and then operation system is gonna manage that library, it opens up for attacks, because then you can inject another library on the same address, for example, and then it kind of hijacks the code on your project. So like for those reasons, I think it's kind of more risk, but I don't know. I have to study a lot more to understand the trade-offs. And those kinds of things are really hard to find information about, like the actual process of distributing the final project. Well, hopefully it works now with Raylib. I remember last time that I tried, it worked, so. The other stuff here, I think I put just to, there's some flags here based on ChatGPT. I think I put this one to specify like debugging information when it's running everything. I'm gonna get the code from here first to see if it works. I think I'm also gonna, so first I'll try this one, then I try the other one, and then I'm going to have to look into the documentation to see how everything works. If both of them works, I think what I'm gonna do is just look into the other project that I was looking at before, and then try to slowly grab the code from the other project and put it on this one, because the other one is a lot closer to the thing that I want to do. Just a graph network. I think I didn't. Did I build? No. Let's see if it works. Nice. So now I'm just gonna copy the code from the other project into this one. The hardest part for me now in the beginning is to understand like how am I supposed to organize everything and just separate the files and folders and think about the whole structure of the thing. I think that's the hardest part in the beginning. So from other projects that I've seen, usually they create another folder that has the engine, and then like it's kind of like another sub project that is the engine that manages everything. And from the other project, there's also the other, like there's two different projects. One handles the visualization with the shaders, and the other handles the physics, I think, which is just the engine. But I'm not really sure if that's the way I'm gonna go about it. Oh, one thing that I want to do is try to separate the. I think I'm gonna delete this one from here. I want to separate the header files from the C++ files because I think it's more organized that way. Now I don't understand why I'm getting these errors. Map page. I think this should be probably one of the standard libraries, maybe. Yeah, Windows. So why is this giving me an error? I still don't. I read the documentation on CMake, but I still don't understand these generator expressions very well. So as far as I understand, the difference between these two here is the way, like, because you can run this command here on CMake, and you can run another command, I think it's export. But it's not very well explained. It's kind of confusing based on the documentation. So these generators are used to specify the path here whenever you use these commands of what's gonna happen. So how it's gonna find the file. So maybe one thing that I should do is just put the same. Like this directory here. And I don't understand why this one's not finding. It's kind of weird. Oh, so maybe it was just because of this. Hmm. Oh, one thing that I can see, he doesn't have CMake. So I can try to compile and see if it's gonna run. I don't understand why. It's because of the way that is written here. So I guess the easiest thing to do is just see if it's gonna run. So it's probably because some compiler version, like I'm using one compiler, he's using another one. So he complains about this, but... So how can I search for this? Like how to solve this? Or maybe if I just remove the parentheses. This part's gonna be, I think, the hardest. I have to get used to how, because I had all this work just to start running this stuff, the code, but I have to get used to thinking about like how this is one of the things that I was searching for now, and I'm gonna continue to search. It's just the main patterns on C++. So I can get used to the methods and like how to declare everything, and yeah. It's gonna be kind of annoying in the beginning. Conversion from int to float. This returns an int. A vector to is float. So maybe I can do... I know I can use declare type, but I'm not really sure if it's worth it. Oh, whatever. Let's see if it runs. And so I think that the best thing to do is probably to try to copy the other projects. Because the problem is that... I haven't changed the code. But the problem is that I don't have a very clear picture in my mind how Raylib connects. But this is the thing, is that the other project doesn't use Raylib, they use IMGUI, I think. And I don't have a very good understanding of how the window management thing connects with OpenGL or with a 3D rendering engine. So I'm gonna have to clarify that. And how should I organize these things, like both in the project and on my mind. But there's several things that I wanna, but I think it's better to probably start like this from like the very basics and then build on top of that. Because this is probably not the project that I'm gonna like continue. It's just a beginning project to learn this stuff, and then I'm probably gonna create another one to actually build the thing that I'm trying to build. But the main things that I wanna learn right now are how to increase the size of the window, like make it so that it's resizable and so that it initializes on not full screen but this like size here. And then how to connect the 3D stuff with the thing. Again, this thing here. And then obviously the events as well. So events in the GUI, because I have to recreate all the physics engine thing, all the VJS component to change the specifications of everything. So I'm not really sure if this. It looks like it's not working for some reason. Hmm. And there isn't any message here. Let's see if I understand the code. So it's allocating some space on the heap based on this. There's gonna be a particle. Then it loops and creates this with the so this is the size of the window just to change the to get random values initially for everything. Well, it should probably be because of this color and this thing here. So so what if I just remove this? I'm gonna go back to the other way and see. So I'm gonna search as well how to initialize. And I'm pretty sure that's if should probably just try to remove the parentheses and the vector thing from there and just leave the curly braces. But this is the thing that is kind of... So I'm not really sure if I should do like this and then remove this thing here. I guess I'm just gonna try and see what happens. It should be working based on this thing here. It just creates the class, like allocates the space here. This is pretty much gonna be kind of like a vector. It's just allocating memory based on the size of the particles counts, and then these blocks of memory are gonna be separated by whatever amount of memory you need to initialize a class. Then it loops over the counts and creates a new class for each one, for each space in memory. It's just like an array with pointers to the class. And this is from Raylib, so initializes the window, sets the FPS target. This is to check whether or not the window is closed. And then it just loops over based on this. So it could be this thing here as well. I got mouse position and tracks. So he's changing the velocity, which is based on the vector. And then he's changing the size of the particle. So he's changing the size of the particle, which is based on the vector. And then he's changing the velocity, which is based on the vector. And then he's changing the velocity, which is based on the vector. And then he's changing the velocity, which is based on the vector. of the class of each one based on the mouse. It's probably from Raylib. I think it's probably because of the version of the... So how old is this thing here? The version of the compiler he's using. Hey, what's up? Either the version or which compiler he's using. Hmm. I'll change the color, see. I think printing is not gonna do anything. So I'm gonna see if I can find the documentation or just look at the source code to understand how these functions work. It's not gonna... I need to find a way to go from the declaration to the definition. Usually on VS Code they just press F12 and then it goes to the thing. Or maybe here. Yeah, but it's just gonna show on my code. So obviously I can go manually, but it's kind of annoying, so... Maybe it's here. So probably it's better to start all the way from this thing here. So I have to understand how these functions work. I think printing is not gonna do anything probably. So I don't understand. I guess the easiest thing that I can test is just the background there. See if anything is working. or if I'm doing something wrong. Obviously, Raylib should be working, otherwise it wouldn't compile. It could be this warnings here as well, like the conversion, but so if that doesn't work, I'm just gonna. If that doesn't work, I'll have to study on the source code. But if this works, then I can try to draw something else to see something more simple. I'm just gonna study the functions anyway, and then I'm gonna see if I can draw something simple. So that works. So it has to be something to do these things. So it's initializing this position vector, which is an attribute of the particle and the velocity with a random value based on this function. This is from Raylib. It just gets a random value based on the screen, I think. Like here. Let me change the color of this. It's not gonna change anything, I think, but it's probably these initializations here. And this is gonna be a struct that has their RGB there thing. And from Raylib, RGBA. If I put 0 on everything, it's gonna be black from. So it goes from true. Let's do this. But I don't see anything wrong with this. So I guess I have to understand more these functions here. How does it draw? It's gonna be this one. Core time currents. So it calculates the delta time. And then obviously if it works, I also have to convert everything to vector 3D. So this is the thing that I'm not really sure. What is the best way to go about? Because the examples might be better. There's a bunch of examples here. I want to understand the connection between Raylib and Web, or OpenGL, and 3D stuff. So yeah, but let me continue to try to see if I can understand how does it work here. So this is, I think it's just related to the time. So this is gonna apparently load identity matrix. Let's go on this class here. So I guess I have to understand how the window works first, because this stuff's probably related to the window. RG data. So this, I think, it is the view. So this matrix is here, model view projection. So it's a struct that is gonna contain the data of what's happening on the view, I think. A render state. And this just multiply the matrices to update the state, I think. Core window. Core assumes gonna be the struct with the data on the view. I'll be right back. So let me go to this thing first. I don't see anything that is wrong here. What can possibly be wrong is the thing that I had to change. Because obviously he was working on the video for him, so it's either the stuff that I had to change or it's because actually it has to be both, I think. The compiler that I'm using, or it's because I'm using Windows and he was using Linux, and then something along those lines that messed it up. But I don't see how this is. It seems that it is the correct way to initialize. So, like it's initializing the struct of color with these values here in the beginning, and the random values for the position. And what could be the thing is the conversion as well. So maybe I think I remember. There is a thing, but it's probably not the best. Like it's not the place to do this. But I think you can use auto to have a like a placeholder for any type, and then you can use declare type, and like this. What this does is just figures out what kind of type it's gonna be, and then you do this to just put any type there. But the problem here is that it's initializing with one type, so I think I can't really change here. But yeah, so there's probably a function to convert the values, but I'm not really sure if that's the problem also. So like it's a vector from here. And this does feel weird, but I guess this is the velocity, so it doesn't matter. So the x and y is going to be determined by the screen, and the velocity is just a random number. So one reason could be the color, but that doesn't make a lot of sense. So the other places are the velocities or the vectors. But I don't see why this would be the problem. Because isn't that the same thing as initializing like that? Position, color. It still doesn't show anything. It's definitely not this, but just gonna change. So next time maybe, like, it's definitely not this, I think. is initializing the thing with position, velocity, and color. So I'm not 100% sure if this is overloading. Like, what is the point of this function here? They're both constructors, I think, but so vector velocity color. I think it's not using the other one. So I think it just doesn't use it. It's just if you want to initialize with predefined values, I think. But it's just using this one. So if I have the position, initial position velocity and color outside. So the thing is that I don't see what's the thing that can be wrong is this thing here as well. So how can I print this? This is another thing that I was happy to see. So from the book or from the JSON, I don't remember if it's the book. I think it is the book based on the way that I wrote here. He creates this class here, but I don't understand very well like how to use this thing. So this is a struct to put the debugging information. I think I can't. Maybe the easiest way to print now is to use. I think it's percentage %d to. There is a function, but I think that's on C. You use printf and then percentage %d, and then you put the thing there. I guess the easiest thing to do now is this one. Just do like this, and then I can look it up somewhere. I don't see why this would be the reason, so I think that this is fine. Just creating a distance here. So you're just changing the velocity based on these functions. And this is gonna be from the other thing. Yeah. So I don't see any problem with this function. Obviously not with this as well. So move. So maybe it has to be something with Raylib. I don't see any problem with the other functions. The ones here. So it's not printing anything. Don't remember very well, but I think people recommend to put this instead of putting the new line, because this automatically flushes, so it's more optimized, but not 100% sure. Hey, what's up? Don't know. Well, try to see if it compiles. I never got this error before. Too many characters in const. So I guess this is the first thing that I have to think about. What is the best practices to debug stuff? So now it is printing weird. Because it is printing here. And before it wasn't doing that, so... I don't think it makes sense to be like the position here. I guess this is one thing that I didn't see there. If it's gonna change the when I move the mouse, if it's gonna change the value here. It's weird, yeah, it does change the value. So I don't think that's the problem. But the thing is that these functions are also... So it has to be something to do. But I think it's unlikely to be these functions from Raylib, because like it's from the library. So it has to be something from this code here. But I don't understand, like... It doesn't seem like there's anything wrong here. That's the thing. So maybe the only thing could be this thing here. Guess what I can try is just another example as well. And it's gonna be the product that I was looking at the beginning. So I assume that this one is gonna initialize all the other structs. And then those structs are gonna probably call the functions from Windows to open the window and do whatever. And what can be wrong here? Maybe it's because I don't have these libraries here. So I'm gonna write this down because it's something that I have to look. As I figure out a way, like this seems to be the way that JSON recommends to put the debug, but I don't understand this. How you supposed to use this? Like I don't get it. So yeah, maybe it's just you put these functions on a file and then you just call this function here, but how is that supposed to print whatever you want? So it's something I have to... But the thing is kind of hard to find these things. And I'm gonna write down here to see if I search later. Hey, I'm trying to run a simple project with Raylib. This project here. It's from a video I found on YouTube and I'm trying to make it work, but for some reason my computer is not working. And I'm not really sure why. Maybe what I can try to do... Oh, this is the problem. So he probably created on Linux. Or he downloaded the library manually and then put it on the path, maybe? So I'm not gonna try to run it from here, because I think that's not gonna be... Hey, what's up? The best book to learn, I think, is Pointers from Kenneth. And C++ best practices from Jason Turner. And the rest is probably videos is better. This should books here. The best way by far is obviously gonna be trying to build stuff, but if you wanna get used to it first, I think that's those two books. I think it wouldn't make sense to be that I need other libraries because I think it wouldn't compile if I needed other ones. So it makes me think that the issue is something else. It has to be with my code there that I have, but also don't understand how. I think that's probably globally initialized here. Like it's a global variable somewhere. Yeah, here. So initialize this to 0 first, and then initialize all the values later. And I think the order matters when you initialize a struct. So 0 is gonna be the window first, but maybe not. Or initialize everything with 0, I think, in the beginning. The package manager that I tried to use was Conan, but now I'm trying to do it without a package manager because I think it adds more dependencies. Like, obviously I don't know because I don't have any experience, but from what I've seen, I think that you don't need a lot of libraries on C and C++. I think people usually use the most, like, the same libraries, so, and it's not very much. So it's different than JavaScript and Python because Python and JavaScript have a bunch of different libraries and then you need to download all the time. So I think that the package manager is not probably that important, as important on C++. So what I'm thinking about doing is just like a standard project where you use CMake and then you just download the libraries. Conan is just a package manager for C++. So you set up a configuration file and then you just run a command and then it installs everything for you. Creates binaries and on a folder, and I think that CMake's aware of the binary from Conan or something like that. I don't understand very well under the hood how it works. But it's pretty much that you're just gonna download from the internet and puts on your computer on a specific file. You're welcome. So, like, how can I solve this thing? I think this is probably all the messages there that show up in the beginning. So it uses this library to get the monitor information. And this is the problem is that this is another thing that, but it's kind of hard to think about like how to search for this. It's like how can I find from the function declaration? How do I find the definition? This VS Code doesn't go to the definition. And it's probably not gonna. It's not the. This is not gonna be the error. I know that there's something else, but I'm trying to understand like what can I think about to solve there. Because for me, as far as I understand, everything seems to be correct. So I don't understand why it's not showing anything. Should be maybe a better thing to do is just to let me see this function here. I should try to, or maybe I can look at an example. I think that's probably a better idea. I could look at a very simple example to see how does it draw things. There's obviously going to be one of those functions there, either this one or the other one, and they're both from Raylib. So I want to understand how. I want to draw at least something to see if it's working. This might be something related to these textures as well. So I think that it is working because this is showing there on the thing. So this function is probably working. Like it's on the upper corner there, the left side. So this is the one that's probably supposed to draw the particle. So probably something related to the numbers, I think. Maybe it's the conversion between floats and integer that is the problem. So let me. I have to see which one. So this is the FPS thing there. So I think that this is like this function here. It's being drawn here. So yeah, I have to see the types to see what's the conversion. So floats. I think that the get random number is integer, so from integer to floats. Static cast. So I think that this is the only conversion probably. So this returns an integer, the other one is a float. So like the initialization doesn't make sense to me to be the problem. So it seems that it is like initialized correct here, so I don't understand. So scanning the values. The other possible problem is the thing here, the number, but I don't understand very well like why that would be the problem. If it's bounded by the... Maybe I should just put a fixed number there. Like based on the whatever size I have there on the screen. This size is here. The other one seems to be correct, just a bunch of calculations. Maybe this one is wrong. Let me comment this one out. I don't understand why move like by the entire length of the screen. Oh, that's just if it's minus. So if it's out of bounds, it puts again, I think. So yeah, this is the calculation that always happens. And then this is just when the particle goes off screen, I think. So it has to be this thing here. Is either the conversion or this thing here. So this probably draws the vector with the color on the screen. So I think that the like Raylib is probably it's kind of like the SDL, which is the bridge between the window. It just manages the window, which comes from the whatever operational system you're using, and then it manages the engine, which is going to be OpenGL or something else, to create the shaders, to draw everything, I think. So it's probably something to do, but the thing that it doesn't make a lot of sense to me to be the texture is that it wouldn't be working with the other color, I think. Or the color of the background wouldn't work if that was a problem, so. And the other FPS thing wouldn't work as well, I think. Like this call here. So I guess I'm just gonna look at other example. It has to be something related to the texture, I think. Because maybe it's different the way that it draws the backgrounds. But I think for now it's not worth it to go based on the beginning there, like all the structs and everything. It's probably better to try to focus on solving the issue. It accepts the position and the color, positions the vector. Yeah, so this handles the shaders probably. Hey, what's up? Maybe the easiest thing to do is just to try to do another example first. So it looks like this is the... Yeah, but I think that this isn't the library. It's just confusing there, the definition. This function here... So it defines this as this. Oh, but I don't understand this statement here very well. It's just saying... Yeah, I don't understand this very well. But I think that this is the library GLFW that handles the shaders. And this is just an API to that library. So based on whatever the mode is, it calls this stuff here. I'm not really sure if I'm gonna do Rust for a long time. I'm not really sure if it's worth it to... go down this path. Maybe it's better to just try another example. It's probably, yeah, but the thing is, like, I already searched, but maybe if I search for other keywords, it's gonna be better. Like, to understand the connect. The hardest part is understand the connection between the shaders and the Raylib. That's what I want to understand, but like through here is gonna be kind of confusing. I think I have to clarify like how these things work. So it looks like this is the library that handles the shaders, but I don't understand this function's declarations very well. It's just declaring this function. It's gonna receive this giant thing here as an argument, and I don't understand very well. Maybe I should just ask ChatGPT, because it's using type nav. So I guess like this is the function declaration, and then you call it based on, yeah, that wouldn't make sense. I think that this is the return statement, so it's a function pointer maybe. And this is the return, and this is what's the types of the arguments that it receives. So one thing that is annoying me is that I can't find the definition for the function, which is something that annoys me about TypeScript as well. Is that like usually the type definition is not very helpful, because if you wanna, like, when I wanna go into the, I wanna see the source code to see how the function works, not like the type. Usually the type doesn't help very much, at least from my experience. I'm gonna ask ChatGPT. A function pointer. I don't understand this part here. Well, the first one I understand, so it's just replacing this name with this other one. What I don't understand is this thing here. I guess it's because it's replacing this name here with this name. I don't understand why, like, how is it possible to create on the same line? And why use this thing here? Oh, I guess like this thing here is just the extern. The extern is a special keyword, I think, on C++ that allows you to declare a variable that has that other files are gonna have access to, I think. So it's kind of like similar to global variables. I don't remember very well how does it work, but I think that's what's happening. Just replacing the names here, but so I guess it is gonna call this function here at the end. Yeah, it's just declaring extern, and then this is the type that the function returns, and this is the function, I think. Which is a very weird name. Conditional render proc. And so probably this is the function. But then how do I find this function? I need to figure out a way to do this, like, systematically, so I don't have to, because it's not practical to just manually go over here, try to find where the function is declared. It feels like there must be a way to do this that is better. This is something that always annoyed me about C and C++ since the beginning. It's like this, like there isn't any specification. Like from the other languages, when you import a function or a variable, you know where it's coming from. But because of the nature of this thing, where like the linker is gonna be the thing that connects everything, there's no way to know where the function is gonna be used. The whole thing about header files is kind of annoying. So one thing that I can do is obviously, I think I can figure out now, but the problem is I'm gonna keep running to the same thing, so I have to clarify. I have to think about a way that I can structure this. So but it's kind of hard to come up with questions like what is the best way to find the function emissions? That's our declaration. I think I already asked ChatGPT that some time ago. And he told me this stuff. It feels like it doesn't, yeah. Because it's saying to use grep. I think grep is a command, an argument that allows you to pattern match strings with the project, I think, which is the same as writing here, I think. The problem is, like, what if I have a bunch of them, so... And it's not showing any C++ files. So maybe it is on this file, though, the definition. Like, it's just... I don't think that... this wouldn't make sense to me, because it has to be something. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to call it there. So maybe it's this thing here. So based on this, it depends on the argument you pass here. This is probably a function that decides based on the other one which one is going to be, but... So it's probably this function here. Which is this one. There's going to be no. That doesn't make any sense to me. So maybe this way right now is not the best. The thing is, I really want to understand how it works. Maybe I'll look into the other ones, but it's gonna be the same function. So logically, based on the names, like, I can assume what's gonna happen, but I want to understand what is happening on the source code. Maybe it's not very good because it's just gonna deviate from what I'm trying to do, so. Because I might have to spend a bunch of time here trying to figure this out. It is a function pointer, so I guess like I should. But I'm probably gonna go over all this stuff here, but maybe I'll write this one and review it twice. I'm gonna put something else. Actually, this thing here. So probably the best thing to do is just to look at the examples. It has to be something along those lines here. But the thing is, I have to figure out where this is probably initialized so somewhere on the other library. So I have to figure out what this is. So, uh, like based on the logic here, what would make sense to me is just a generic function that is gonna do a switch statement or something like that, based on the whatever string it is here, and then it's gonna do functionality based on that. But yeah. Yeah. So maybe if I just look at the return thing, return type. This is gonna be the variable. No, maybe this thing, but this is gonna be the other thing. That's the problem. Just this function pointer. So I guess it's just like calling based on the pointer. I don't understand very well. It's just a void pointer. So let me try to put another example there. It's probably better in the beginning. So like try to, I'm gonna open the, because I don't remember which one is which. Like try to incorporate, first try to incorporate these examples, then like once I've become familiar with all the functions, and hopefully I can find something that works here, then I can go back to this one and try to see what I'm doing wrong there. I'm just gonna run this. So yeah, probably the best thing to do is just try a bunch of examples, see if any of them work. Then I'll go back to the other one. I think I'll be right back. Yeah, I'll be right back. And this one seems to be working. So not 100% sure what's going on. Actually, there's another thing. So begin drawing your background. I don't understand this very well. Like, why do this? Is defining, I guess this. Like, yeah, it doesn't make sense to me. So maybe if I initialize the color like this on the other one, yeah, I guess I can try to do that. Also, I don't understand this very well. Like, why do this separately here? Why not put all of them inside of here? Like the explanation would be the movements here, like you want to move before you draw everything, but not sure if that makes a huge difference. Maybe it does. Yeah, but it would just change one cycle, I think. Maybe that matters. Hmm. It looks like it's not changing here now. Oh, it has to be something that I doing with the. Let me put the other codes here as well and see if it works. And now it's working here. It still doesn't show anything. I don't understand why this one doesn't work. So I guess the other thing that I can try to do is like this. So I'm also gonna remove this from here. I'm thinking about whether or not to initialize the particles with a fixed value, but I think it's probably not gonna matter that much. But maybe I should do that, because then you like just remove as many things as possible from what can be wrong with this. Just see if it fixes the problem. Double to floats. Hmm. And now it looks like the oh no, FPS is still working. So next thing is to just put random values here. Oh, I guess I'm not making the caller. You could show anything. Oh, but yeah, it's supposed to initialize with this value. So let me go back to the way that's it was. Oh, actually, I think now I understand. It's because it is initializing here. I think this is the problem. Like, I'm initializing twice there, so the caller that is using doesn't have any value, I think. It's just a null value when I pass. That's probably the issue. So let me go back to the float thing again. Yeah, I think that's the problem. Do you have a free site for beginning Python? No, I made a video a while ago that might be helpful. Uh, the problem is it's gonna be kind of hard to find. So I'm just gonna go to the. I'm not finding the code. Let me Python beginner. Yeah. So this video here. I'm not really sure if it's good or not, but like the way that I did it is just by thinking about everything that I wish I knew when I started, and that was kind of confusing. So I think that if you watch this and you build stuff based on this, the only way to learn is gonna be to build, uh, like the best way to learn. So you're not gonna learn by watching videos. But this one, I think it should be like enough in the beginning to learn everything that you need to know. And it still doesn't work. I was expecting to work now. So maybe if I do, but like if I do it with this now, but I don't see why this would be. Maybe it does work. Or if I initialize everything with 0 here and see if it works that way. Because this is the issue. Expected. What if I do this? It's probably not gonna work if the other approaches didn't work. Yeah. So what's up with this? So what else can be the problem? So I guess the other thing that I can do is just do it outside of the class. Like just call this function here. And the problem is it's gonna be, yeah, I should comment this one out and see if the other one works. The issue is that I don't see anything that can be wrong here. Like, it seems that everything is correct to me. So the only thing that makes sense should be wrong is the initialization, because that's the thing that I had to change there, but it could be either that or it has to be one of the functions from Raylib, but it wouldn't make a lot of sense. It should be one of the functions from Raylib. So another explanation would be the memory here, I think. But as far as I understand, it seems that it is correct. Like, it's creating a pointer to this place in memory that is gonna have the size of the count here, and then here is dereferencing that place. So it's like it's accessing the first place, not the first place, but all the indexes of the memory here, and then making that equal to the particle. So initialize the class to that, and then inside of here, it just access one by one and call the functions. So I don't see why. The only explanation would be this is another thing that's not sure. Like, I don't understand very well if this is good or not. Like, to initialize here, because then you're creating a new vector each time. It feels that's probably not gonna be the best. Like, maybe the correct way to do it is just initialize everything outside of the loop, and then you just update the values. But maybe if I... But the thing is, like, it doesn't make a lot of sense for me to be... Like, for the problem to be that, because then... it would show an error or something, I think. I think that's... So... I'll have to do... like this. But I don't think this is the problem, though. So maybe I could look at the other examples. I have no idea, like, what is wrong. So the other thing that I can try is just to print the color here. Nothing. So maybe is the call to it has to be this function here. So that's another thing that I can do. Probably that's the best thing I can do, is just use the other function. Like this one to... Yeah, I think that's the best thing to do now. I just replace this one with the other one and put 50 there. 50 is gonna be the radius. So obviously I can create... You can create another attribute on the class to have the radius of the thing. But I don't see why. Maybe it could be because I'm using Windows or something like that. Like, one of these functions here, because it's like they're... This is the thing, I don't understand them very well, so I have to spend some time, I think, going over the source code to see if I can understand. It could be like that I don't have a library, but that wouldn't make a lot of sense as well. Because if that was the case, then I think it would fail on the compile time. Interesting. It's probably something to do with memory that I don't understand very well. It's probably because of the position. So I guess another thing that I can do is let me first comment the other stuff here and see if that shows up. Then I'm gonna print the position. Oh, it could be because of this thing here that I changed. But that wouldn't make sense because I'm not printing anything. So I guess it's here. I mean here. Nice. It doesn't work. Whatever. Hmm. I guess that's probably why he didn't pass the position here. So how do I access the thing? Well, I guess it's because it's private. Yeah. So what I can do is create another method to get the position. I don't feel like doing that though. The easiest thing to test now is to see if with the other function is gonna work. So maybe I should just like remove, like put this again here. I should first test to see if it's gonna work with the other function. I think that the F's have to be, but it wouldn't make a lot of sense because it would have to stop in the beginning if it was this thing here. Hmm. So so obviously this is wrong. So, but I'm not really sure if it's because I'm not really sure if it's supposed to be F or not. Oh, so it is showing here now. So I guess the problem is just the positions. Okay, there's a calculation. I think that's. So in one of these calculations, I think it is messing up the position. So it doesn't look like it is the color as well. So the reason why it's showing F is probably because it's converting the float to a string or something like that. So like in order to put the float, there's probably something you have to do. But I don't want to bother with that now. So it has to be the position there. That's wrong. So the question is why though? Because it's supposed to be random here. So So let me try again like this. See if it's gonna work. The thing is that it's probably like something else wrong because it's supposed to be. Let me see if I can print the thing here. Or maybe it's something to do with this conversion. Yeah, but the thing is that it's not supposed to be 0 here. It doesn't make sense. And now it doesn't show anything. Oh, now it shows here. Oh, interesting. So first let me try to fix this. Let me see if I remove if it's gonna, because it might be this conversion. So I want to see if I can fix the position first, and then once I fix the position, then I try to change the function call there to see if it's gonna work. Also, obviously, reduce the amount of particles. Oh, now, and it seems like it is moving without. Oh, so maybe it is working now, but it should be like they should be all. So it is still 0 here. That's the thing. Maybe it's because you have to initialize here. Should be 0 in the beginning, but I think that wouldn't make a lot of sense. So it might be because of the conversion between from. But then the static cast thing should be working, I think. Maybe if I try to print this stuff here. Oh, it's still 0, everything. Hmm. So this is returning 0 for some reason. So I guess but this shouldn't be. I guess I don't see any reason why you wouldn't be 1,000 there. So what the fuck is going on? Oh, maybe it's because of the. It's not that it's zero, it's that's the printing thing. So I think that it might be the case. I suppose should work though. But I'm gonna test that as well. I'm just gonna put a number here, see if it's gonna print. And now it's showing, yeah, but yeah, so it is working. So I don't understand why it's always getting zero here. So obviously I have to fix that first. So at least now I know that it's not the color. So let me try to change the function here again. See if it's gonna work. Oh, maybe it's because of that. So let me. I forgot that I put. Hmm. Yeah. Let me comment this out first. So maybe that's because it's working here. So it's not printing the ball here, just printing the. Yeah, I think that's what's happening. But it's still weird that the position is off there because it's like not related to this. And it's still printing zero regardless, so like here. I think that's probably this. Oh, it is working. Transition color. So this function for some reason is not working. This probably has to do with the texture. Because both this function and is returning zero for some reason. I don't understand. And what's annoying me as well is that like there isn't, I don't know, a good way to look to find the definition of the functions. And so I think that the thing that I should try to focus first to fix. Oh, actually, I didn't see. This was working before, so I think that what I should try to fix is the position first. Well, I think it's s rand. I'm pretty sure you can use s rand. I don't remember if it's from the standard library. I think that's the last thing that I'm gonna try, then I'm gonna stop. So I need to spend more time. Oh, now it looks like it is working. There's probably something like with the Raylib thing. Or maybe they changed the Raylib since the guy made the video. Oh, now it is working. So I think they probably changed Raylib since the guy made the video, or it could be something with the texture as well. That's the reason why that function is not working. So I need to spend some time clarifying. I think I'm gonna stop streaming now. So both these function pointers, like I need to figure out a way, like what is the best to print stuff to debug. I should get used to, because it's something that I do all the time on the other languages. Is this print statements should debug. So, like especially when it comes to classes and stuff like that. Not really sure if it's worth it though, because maybe if I just keep trying to do stuff like this and then use ChatGPT, I'm gonna get used to. Yeah, but maybe I spend some time again trying to understand how this is supposed to work. This thing here. And then watch more videos on this. That's the hardest part in the beginning, is like, because I don't know what is the best way to structure the project. I have to still like spend time thinking about it. What exactly do I want to figure out? Obviously, the first things I'm gonna do is just figure out how to increase the size of the screen, and the main thing is the shaders. That's the stuff. So I think next time that I stream, it's probably gonna be like 2 days from now or something like that. I'm just gonna spend time going over the source code from Raylib to understand. So probably what I'm gonna do off stream now is just watch a bunch of videos and then try to just copy paste the examples they have here. Just see like what are the main functions. But the main thing that I want to understand, that's probably what I'm gonna do next stream. Just gonna go over the source code. I'm gonna search for this off stream now, I think. Uh, like, but it looks like there isn't a way, I think. Mm, Like the challenging thing is like thinking about how can I search for this? Because there should be a way that people do this. It is something, but maybe not. Maybe I'm the only one that's thinks like this. Because usually, often, like a lot of the times, I wanna understand how the functions work, and I wanna look at the source code. So the biggest problem, and like I'm encountering these a lot, is that like I press F12 to go to the function, like then it goes to the declaration, and then like I get stuck because like there isn't a clear way to know where the definition is of the function, and declaration doesn't help at all, I think. Because usually I want to understand how everything's connected. So I have to figure out, but it's kind of hard to think about how to search for these like keywords that I can search on YouTube that are gonna or search on a search engine to find resources that explain like how people usually do this. Of finding the definition, and I don't like the idea of putting the name here very much because sometimes there's a bunch of stuff, but maybe that's the way that people usually do it. But I think next thing that I'm gonna do is just go over the source code here and try to understand how Raylib creates the shaders. I think that's the main thing that I wanna clarify right now. So I'm probably gonna have to spend a bunch of time going over the functions. Like this function here, the other one that I got stuck. And I'm gonna have to clarify or to remember the function pointers and the definitions, stuff like that. Yeah, but I want to spend more time now thinking about. I also have to think about like the structure of the project that I want to do. Because now I can't like it's not gonna be very different. The examples I think is always gonna be the same thing. You create a loop, then you probably create classes, and then from the classes you structure everything. So I guess like so maybe I should write a bunch of things here that I wanna. I'm gonna write down here. So like how to make window resizable. How to add more things to the window. Relationship between Raylib and rendering. I think that's probably this one should come before this one. But I guess like I guess I should probably look into the other projects. Like the only reason why we're gonna stop right now is that my headphones are annoying me. I'm probably gonna do this. It's probably better to just try to look into this project here and see how he does it. Because it doesn't seem that it's gonna be very hard, to be honest. The hardest part is understanding how the shaders. But I think that the way that the shaders work is just like you're gonna pass data to the OpenGL API or whatever other API you're using to communicate with the GPU. And then based on the data, it's gonna populate the shader code. Like you pass the shader code and you pass the data. And then based on that, the API does everything for you, I think. So Raylib probably has these functions, like it probably calls these functions from OpenGL. So these functions here that's is calling, they probably do this. So it's just a matter of understanding how these functions work and at what points they call the OpenGL or whatever thing they use to render stuff on the screen. And it's gonna be this stuff here of texture and color. But if I, so I guess that's another question. If you're putting more stuff on the window, like buttons here or stuff like that, how do you, what is the best way to separate the things? Because obviously it's gonna be, it's kind of like gonna be very similar to the front end where you're gonna have, but I guess like is better because you have less things to worry about that are not related to the thing that you're trying to do, I think. But it should probably separate like the state management of the buttons and the UI and the state management of the visualization you're drawing. So I guess that's the thing that I'm struggling to make a distinction here. Because obviously everything's gonna be, if I use Raylib, I'm gonna render everything with the same like pixels, I think. So like it's all gonna be based on whatever they are using to create the shaders to draw stuff on the screen, the button. So I think that the question would be the how to organize the events. So I guess how to organize. But it doesn't seem that's gonna be very hard, to be honest. Like, because they do everything for you. So after I figure out this distinction, then I think it's just gonna be a matter of translating the. So maybe I should try first to translate this one. And then once I have that, I can look at the logic from the front end that I have and try to convert that logic into this other thing here. Yeah, so I'm probably gonna have to, I'm gonna create a graph and create a graph class. Then the graph class is just gonna be, I'm just gonna translate from the front end. I guess the main difference is the events. So it's like study, mouse, and keyboard events. Capture. So this, I think I'm gonna look at the examples. Maybe you can do a few now. Oh, there's also the camera. So this is another thing, how to structure the camera. Yeah, I guess the biggest question is how do you separate the UI, the buttons and the layout logic from the visualization logic on the code. I think that's the biggest point of confusion for me now. Then everything else is just gonna be the same, pretty much, which is not that hard from the front end. So like you separate, I'm gonna have a bunch of classes or one class that is gonna handle the logic for the physics engine. Then you're just gonna get the code from the other project. Then you update the physics engine inside of the loop. Then you have the other class that is the graph that gets the data from outside. And then it does pretty much what the other guy was doing here. Just loop over the, but instead of particles, I'm just gonna change this class here. Yeah, I'm gonna change this class so that it is more similar to the one that I had on the front end, and then I'm gonna try to copy the code from the other project to implement the barn set simulation thing. This one, and then probably all I have to do is just update the thing, and then the events are probably gonna be separated on another class. And then you have another class to, or maybe you do these things like, Yeah, I guess the events are going to be part of the graph, which is just going to call these functions here. This get mouse, which they probably have for all the inputs. So get mouse gets the keyboard as well, and then I incorporate these functions on the particle, which is going to be the graph. And I think with that, I can just emulate. So I guess the biggest question I have now is just the other, if I want to add other UI things there, like the other buttons. And then what is the best way to separate the logic from the UI stuff? Because obviously they're going to be connected. So on the front end, I have the thing that changes the visualization, the physics based on whatever you put there. So I just want to recreate, I'm trying to recreate this stuff here on there. That's the point that I want to get to. So what I'm thinking about is like, how do I recreate this stuff here on there? And obviously they're going to be connected because when you change values here, you should change the values of the other one. And I think that the main difference here is that this one is done obviously on the front end. So like the state management of React, because I did this with React, handles the connection between them and the events. And the thing is, I'm not 100% sure how the Chrome engine is going to do that with C++. But obviously there needs to be a way. So I guess that's the main difference, is like, which is probably the same thing that is happening under the hood on the Chrome engine, because it's rendering everything on the screen. But from the front-end person point of view, you don't know like where the distinction is between the different elements. Because on the back end, everything's going to be rendered by the same window, and everything's going to be done like within the visualization, if that makes sense. So how do you create the boundary between the two and a channel of communication? I think that's the thing. I'm talking about this so I can try to clarify what questions I'm gonna ask next to understand. Like it has to be something related to the events, the way that they work. Because obviously it's gonna be, yeah. So I guess what is the best way to structure events? Because that's the bridge between the two, I think. So like both on the graph thing, I'm gonna have to call this, but I guess it's like easier than the front end because you can just use the functions from Raylib. So yeah, I think that's probably gonna be easier. Like all you have to do, so all I have to figure out is how to create another window, or not another window, another UI component inside of the other one. But the thing is, I'm not really sure if it's just gonna be. Yeah, I guess it's a question like, two different UI components. Separated only visually, or you should create the window. I have to think more to see if I can find videos about this. Because I don't know if it's just a visual effect that you're gonna create and you render everything on the same window, or if you have to call something else to like create this separation between the two things. But I think it's probably just gonna be a visual thing. So you're just gonna call, like, probably create another class, and then within the other class you create functions that are gonna draw different stuff based on whatever UI. So each UI component that you're gonna do, you just create another class, and then you create this, like the variables, which are gonna be structs that are gonna contain the data for creating the UI element. I think that's what I'm thinking now. Like if I can't find any information, that's probably what I'm gonna do. So like create another class and puts like configuration. I can do the same logic that I did for the front end. like the same names and everything. And then, so configuration, and then I create the attributes, which are gonna hold the data for everything. Yeah, but it's gonna be complicated because like the UI component's gonna have other stuff. So then becomes a question about composition versus inheritance. Because like one choice that I have is just to do like the parent class, which is gonna be, and then maybe I can declare virtual functions for the class, but I'm not really sure if that makes sense. It's like create one overarching class for the entire component, and then create a bunch of smaller classes that are gonna inherit from the parent one. That are gonna be each one like a button or an input. So obviously the best thing would be to create like one class only and then just call that method a bunch of times in the same way that I did here. It's like you create one component and then you just change the component based on the data they receive. So I initialize outside. So I create one parent class, and then from that class, I create child classes that are gonna inherit from the parent one, and which one is gonna be, one's gonna be the button, another one's gonna be the range. The other ones are gonna be the filters and stuff like that. And then each class changes the UI visualization based on structs that are gonna handle the data for each one. Then I initialize outside in the beginning there, I think. Like outside of the loop here, initialize everything. And then the issue, I guess the calculation of the layout, the position, is gonna be done on the base class, I think. Yeah. Because then I can determine based on the parent class where everything's gonna be located. So I guess I have the vision already. But I'm tired now. I'm gonna probably watch this, research this. Next time, I'm probably just gonna study the source code from Raylib. And I think I'm probably maybe tomorrow I'll do a scaly draw, like stuff of these things that I'm saying. And then next time I start trying to build, because it doesn't look like, I think it's gonna be easier than I thought it would be, to be honest. So yeah, I'm gonna stop here, and probably next time I'm gonna start working on this. I think I'm gonna create another project actually, and what I'm gonna do upstream now is just test a bunch of these examples on this one to get myself familiar with Raylib. The next time I study a little bit of the source code and I create another project, and I'm probably gonna have the scaly draw as well of the kind of like the classes that I want to do, I think. And then I start working on this stuff. So what I want to achieve is just to do the same thing that I have here for the front end, but using Raylib. So yeah, see you next